My beloved child, before you listen any further, I want you to stop for just a moment. Take away the smile you show everyone else. Put aside the words, "I'm okay, I'm just tired, everything's fine," because today, you don't have to pretend with me. My child, can I ask you something? When was the last time you cried where no one could see you? Perhaps it was late at night, after everyone else had fallen asleep. Perhaps it happened in your car before walking into work. Perhaps it happened in the bathroom because you didn't want your family to hear. Perhaps you buried your face in a pillow, trying to silence your sobs. Not because you wanted attention, but because you didn't want anyone to know how deeply you were hurting. My beloved child, I know those moments. I know the tears you quickly wiped away before someone entered the room. I know the tears you refused to let fall because you believed you had to stay strong. I know the tears that never reached your face because your heart had become too exhausted even to cry anymore. You may believe no one noticed. Perhaps no one did. The people around you saw your smile. They saw you continue working. They saw you caring for others. They saw you showing up every day. But they never saw the weight you carried once the door closed behind you. They never heard the conversations you had with yourself. How much longer can I keep doing this? Why does everything feel so heavy? Does anyone even know what I'm going through? Does God still see me, my beloved child? That last question is why I brought you here today, because I want you to hear my answer. Yes, I see you. I have always seen you. Not only the version of you that everyone else knows, I see the hidden version, the tired version, the disappointed version, the frightened version, the version that lies awake staring at the ceiling, wondering if tomorrow will somehow feel different, the version that quietly whispers, "Lord, I don't think I can do this much longer. Please hear me carefully. You have never cried one single tear without me seeing it. Not one. There has never been a night when your pillow became wet with tears and I was absent. There has never been a moment when your heart silently broke and I turned my face away. Never, my beloved child. You remember every person who overlooked your pain. I remember every tear they never noticed. You remember every time someone said, "You'll be fine," without understanding the battle inside your heart. I remember every moment you wanted someone to ask, "Are you really okay?" But no one did. You felt invisible, forgotten, alone. Yet even then, you were never alone. Please stay with me, because I want to tell you something beautiful. People often measure love by how well someone notices their pain. When nobody notices, they begin believing nobody cares. But my child, human eyes are limited. Mine are not. I see what no one else can. I see the brave smile you wear to protect everyone around you. I see the strength that has become exhausting. I see the loneliness hidden inside crowded rooms. I see the anxiety you laugh to cover. I see the grief you keep postponing because life keeps demanding more from you. Nothing has ever escaped my eyes. Please think about Hagar. She believed she had been abandoned in the wilderness, rejected, forgotten, invisible. There was nobody to comfort her, nobody to rescue her, nobody who seemed to care. But I met her there, and afterward she called me, El Roy, the God who sees me, my beloved child. That name has never changed. I am still the God who sees. I see the mother who cries after her children go to bed. I see the father who silently worries about how he will provide. I see the widow sitting alone at the dinner table. I see the young person who smiles at school, but feels completely empty inside. I see the faithful believer who continues praying even though heaven has seemed silent for a long time. I see you, not because you finally became strong enough, not because you prayed perfectly, simply because you are my beloved child. Please hear what my word says. You have kept count of my tossings. Put my tears in your bottle. Are they not in your book? Think about that for a moment. Your tears matter so much to me that my word describes them as something worth keeping, not ignoring, not forgetting, keeping. Every tear carries a story. Every tear carries a prayer. Every tear carries a burden that words could not fully express. My beloved child, some of your deepest prayers were never spoken aloud. They were cried. They were whispered through trembling lips. They were expressed through silence, through sleepless nights, through weary sighs, through moments when all you could do was simply sit in my presence. Do you know something wonderful? I understood every one of those prayers. Even when you couldn't find the words, even when your heart felt too broken to explain itself. Please don't leave yet, because in the next part, I want to show you why none of those hidden tears were ever wasted. You may believe they disappeared into the darkness, but I am about to reveal something that has always been true. Every tear you thought was unnoticed was safely held in my hands from the very beginning. My beloved child, stay with me, because now I want to speak to the tears no one ever saw, not the tears you cried in front of other people, the tears you quickly wiped away before anyone noticed, the tears you refused to explain, the tears you convinced yourself didn't matter. My child, you have spent so much of your life trying not to become a burden, so instead of talking, you stayed silent. Instead of asking for help, you said, "I'll be okay." Instead of telling someone your heart was breaking, you smiled. You kept serving, you kept working, you kept showing up, while inside, you were quietly falling apart. My beloved child, I know why. Because somewhere along the way, you began believing your pain was too much for other people. Perhaps when you tried to explain, someone changed the subject. Perhaps they told you, just move on. Everyone goes through hard times. You need to be stronger. Perhaps they never intended to hurt you, but their words made you feel as though your tears were inconvenient, so you stopped sharing them. You carried them alone. Please hear me carefully. You never had to hide your tears from me. Never. There has never been a single moment when you needed to pretend you were stronger than you really were. I have never asked you to impress me. I have only asked you to come to me. Please stay with me. Think about a little child who falls and scrapes their knee. The child doesn't worry about appearing strong. They immediately run toward the one they trust, not because the parent enjoys seeing the wound, but because they know they will be cared for. My beloved child, somewhere along your journey, you stopped running toward me with your pain. Instead, you tried carrying it by yourself. You believed faith meant never crying, never questioning, never feeling weak. But that has never been true. Faith is not pretending you are unbreakable. Faith is bringing your brokenness into my presence. Please remember David. So many people remember him as a mighty king, a fearless warrior, a man after my own heart. But read his Psalms carefully. How often did he cry? How often did he pour out his heart? How often did he ask, "Lord, how long?" David did not hide his tears from me. He trusted me with them. That is why his heart found hope, even before his circumstances changed. My beloved child, I would rather have your honest tears than perfect words spoken from a closed heart. Because I have never desired polished prayers, I desire honest hearts. Please hear what my word says. The Lord is near to the brokenhearted and saves those who are crushed in spirit. Notice, I did not say, the Lord is near only to those who never cry, or the Lord is near only to those who always appear strong. No, I come especially close to hearts that have been broken. Why? Because broken hearts often discover my presence more deeply than comfortable hearts ever do. Please don't misunderstand me. I am not saying suffering is good. I never delight in your pain, but I never waste it. That is the difference. My child, the enemy wants your tears to convince you that I have abandoned you. I want your tears to draw you closer to me. The enemy whispers, "You're alone." I whisper, "I'm here." The enemy says, "Nobody understands." I answer, "I understand completely." The enemy says, "You'll always feel this way." I remind you, this season is not your forever. Please stay with me. There is something beautiful I want you to understand. Every tear carries a prayer, even the ones without words. Have you ever been so overwhelmed that you couldn't even pray? You sat quietly, you stared at the floor, or out the window, or into the darkness, and all you could do was cry. You thought, "I don't even know what to say anymore." My beloved child, you didn't have to, because before the first tear reached your face, I already understood your heart. I understood the fear behind it, the disappointment, the loneliness, the exhaustion, the questions, the silent ache that words could never fully describe. Nothing was lost in translation. Nothing. Even your silence spoke to me. Please remember Mary. When she stood outside Lazarus's tomb, she did not come with a long speech. She came with tears. And what did I do? I did not rebuke her. I did not tell her to stop crying. I stood beside her, and I wept. Not because I lacked power. I already knew resurrection was coming. I wept because I loved. My beloved child, never believe your tears push me away. They draw my heart closer. Not because I enjoy seeing you hurt, but because I love you too deeply to leave you there alone. Please don't leave yet, because in the next part, I want to reveal something that may completely change the way you see your pain. You have believed your tears were simply evidence of how deeply you were wounded, but I am about to show you something greater. Sometimes, the tears you wanted to hide become the very place where my healing quietly begins. My beloved child, stay with me, because now we have reached the truth I have wanted your heart to hear from the very beginning. If you remember only one sentence from this message, remember this. You never cried alone, not once, not on your darkest night, not after the phone call that changed everything, not after the betrayal, not after the diagnosis, not after the goodbye, not after the funeral, not after the disappointment you never told anyone about. You believed you were alone, but I was there. Please let those words settle into your heart, because the enemy has spent far too long convincing you that heaven was absent. He whispered, "Nobody knows, nobody sees, nobody cares." And after hearing those lies long enough, you began believing them. But my beloved child, the truth has never changed. I was there. I was there when you locked the bathroom door so your children wouldn't see you crying. I was there when you pulled your car over because you couldn't stop the tears. I was there when you stared at the ceiling at 2 o'clock in the morning, wondering how you would make it through another day. I was there when everyone else thought you were strong, but inside, you felt completely broken. Not one of those moments escaped my eyes. Please stay with me. Think about a shepherd when one sheep wanders away from the flock. Does the shepherd only watch from a distance? No. He goes after it, not because the sheep is stronger than the others, but because it is hurting, because it is vulnerable, because it matters. My beloved child, that is my heart toward you. The moments when you felt weakest were not the moments I moved farther away. They were the moments I drew nearest. You simply could not feel my presence, because your pain had become louder than your hope. Please hear me carefully. Feelings are real, but they are not always reliable. There were nights when you felt abandoned, yet I never left. There were days when you felt forgotten, yet I never forgot you. There were mornings when you believed your prayers had reached no higher than the ceiling, yet every word entered my presence. My child, do not measure my nearness by your emotions. Measure it by my promise. And my promise has never changed. I will never leave you nor forsake you. Never. Not when your faith feels strong. Not when your faith feels weak. Not when you understand my plan. Not when everything feels confusing. Never. Please, think about Elijah. After one of the greatest victories of his life, he found himself sitting alone beneath a broom tree, exhausted, afraid, discouraged. He believed he was the only one left. He even asked that his life would end. Did I condemn him? Did I tell him to have stronger faith? No. First, I let him rest. I cared for his body. I fed him. Only afterward did I speak. My beloved child, sometimes you think the first thing I want from you is stronger faith. Sometimes the first thing I want is simply for you to know that I am still with you. Please don't miss that, because my presence has always been the beginning of healing. Before I change your circumstances, I remind you that you are not facing them alone. Before I answer every question, I remind you that you are loved. Before I remove every burden, I stand beside you while you carry it. That has always been my way. Please stay with me. There is something beautiful I want you to understand. You have asked, Lord, why did you allow me to cry so much? My child, I never desired your suffering, but I refused to waste it. Every tear softened places inside your heart that pride could never soften. Every lonely night taught you to depend upon me in ways comfort never could. Every painful season deepened your compassion for people who now cross your path carrying similar burdens. You thought your tears were only evidence of brokenness. I have been preparing them to become part of your testimony. One day, someone will sit across from you, feeling exactly as you once felt, invisible, forgotten, ready to give up. And because you have walked through this valley with me, you will be able to look them in the eyes and say, I know how you feel. I cried too, but God never left me. My beloved child, that is how I redeem pain, not by pretending it never happened, but by allowing it to become a source of hope for someone else. This is the big reveal. The tears you are most ashamed of are the very tears I have treasured. The nights you believed were empty were filled with my presence. The moments you thought nobody saw were the moments I held you closest. You have never been invisible to me. Never. Not for 1 second. Not for 1 heartbeat. Not for 1 tear. Please don't leave yet, because in the next part, I want to show you something many believers have misunderstood for years. You have believed that crying means your faith is weak, but I am about to show you why. Your tears are not evidence that you are failing. They may be evidence that your heart is finally becoming honest before me. My beloved child, stay with me, because now I want to free you from a burden many of my children have quietly carried for far too long. Somewhere along your journey, you began believing that if your faith were stronger, you wouldn't cry so much. You thought, maybe real believers don't struggle like this. Maybe if I trusted God more, I wouldn't feel so overwhelmed. Maybe my tears mean I'm spiritually weak. My beloved child, who taught you that? It was never me. Please hear me carefully. Tears are not the opposite of faith. Very often, they are the language of faith, because only a heart that still believes continues bringing its pain to me. Please stay with me. Think about a child. When they fall, who do they cry for? The person they trust most. They cry because they believe someone safe will come, someone who loves them, someone who will pick them up. My beloved child, every tear you have brought into my presence has been an act of trust, not failure. Trust. You cried because somewhere deep inside, even when you couldn't explain it, Your heart still believed I cared. Please don't miss that. The enemy wants to shame you for your tears. He whispers, "Look at you. You're still struggling. You're still hurting. You're still crying. Where is your faith now?" But my child, the enemy measures faith by appearances. I measure faith by the direction of your heart. Every time you cried and still whispered, "Lord, help me," that was faith. Every time you felt exhausted, yet refused to walk away from me, that was faith. Every time you opened my word, even when you didn't feel anything, that was faith. Every time you chose to pray, when all you wanted to do was give up, that was faith. Faith has never meant never feeling pain. Faith means choosing to bring your pain to me. Please remember Hannah. Year after year, she carried the sorrow of an unanswered prayer. People misunderstood her. Some even judged her. When she poured out her heart before me, her lips moved, but no words could be heard. Others assumed something was wrong with her, but I knew. I understood every silent cry. I understood every hidden tear, and I never despised them, my beloved child. I still don't. There has never been a tear that made me love you less. Never. Please, hear what my word says. Jesus wept. The shortest verse in Scripture, yet one of the deepest. Think about it. I already knew Lazarus would live again. I already knew resurrection was only moments away. Yet I still wept. Why? Because love is never cold. Love enters another person's sorrow. Love does not stand at a distance. Love stays. My beloved child, if I was not ashamed to weep, why are you ashamed of your tears? Please stop believing that strength means pretending nothing hurts. That is not strength. That is hiding. Real strength is bringing your whole heart before me. The broken parts, the confused parts, the fearful parts, the disappointed parts, because I cannot heal the wounds you keep pretending don't exist. Please stay with me. Some of you listening today have become experts at saying, "I'm okay." You say it at church, you say it at work, you say it to your friends, you even say it to your family, until eventually you begin saying it to yourself. But my beloved child, you don't have to convince me. I already know. I know the smile that costs you everything. I know the laughter that hides exhaustion. I know the brave face that collapses the moment you're alone. I know, and I have never loved you less because of it. In fact, I move closest to hearts that stop pretending, because honesty opens the door for healing. Please think about Peter. After denying me 3 times, he wept bitterly. Those tears were not the end of his story. They became the beginning of his restoration. His tears did not disqualify him. They prepared him. My child, your tears do not disqualify you either. They do not mean I have abandoned you. They do not mean your faith has failed. They do not mean your prayers have lost their power. Sometimes, they simply mean your heart is finally honest enough to let me into the places that have been hurting the most. Please don't leave yet, because in the final part, I want to leave you with one promise I pray you will carry for the rest of your life. One promise for every lonely night, every hidden tear, every silent prayer. Because my beloved child, the tears you thought would only become memories of pain will one day become evidence of my faithfulness. My beloved child, before this message comes to an end, there is one final promise I want to place deep inside your heart. A promise I pray you will remember every time another tear falls, every time another lonely night comes, every time you wonder, does anyone really know how much this hurts? Please hear me. I know. I always have. My child, there have been moments when you believed your tears meant you were losing. But what if they were actually preparing you for something far greater than you can presently see? What if the tears you wished had never fallen would one day become the reason someone else finds hope? Please stay with me. Think about a pearl. It begins with pain. A tiny grain of sand enters the shell. An irritation, a wound, something that doesn't belong. Yet over time, that very place of discomfort becomes something beautiful. The pearl is not created despite the irritation. It is created because of it. My beloved child, I have always been the God who brings beauty from brokenness. I never called pain beautiful, but I have always been able to create beauty from it. Please hear me carefully. You have spent so much time asking, Lord, when will this pain end? Perhaps a better question is, Lord, what are you creating through this pain? Because I never waste anything placed into my hands. Not your tears, not your disappointments, not your lonely nights, not your unanswered questions, nothing. Please remember Joseph. For years, his tears seemed meaningless. He cried when his brothers betrayed him. He cried in slavery. He cried in prison. He cried in loneliness. If anyone had asked him then, what good could possibly come from all this? He probably could not have answered. But years later, looking back, he finally understood. The very things that nearly destroyed him had become the path I used to save countless lives. My beloved child, could it be that one day you will also look back and finally understand why I never abandoned you? Please don't misunderstand me. I am not saying I caused every wound. People have free will. Sin leaves scars. Life in a broken world brings suffering. But I am greater than every wound, greater than every betrayal, greater than every disappointment, greater than every loss. What others intended to break, I can redeem. What the enemy intended to destroy, I can transform. That is who I am. Please hear what my word says. We know that in all things God works for the good of those who love Him. Notice what I did not say. I did not say all things are good. Some things are heartbreaking. Some things should never have happened. Some losses are devastating. Some wounds run incredibly deep. But even there, I am still working. Even there, I am still redeeming. Even there, my love has not stopped. My beloved child, there will come a day, perhaps sooner than you think, when someone crosses your path carrying the same pain you once carried. They will believe nobody understands, nobody sees them, nobody cares. And because you have walked through this valley with me, you will be able to gently say, I understand. I've cried those tears too, and God never left me. That moment will become part of your testimony, not because your suffering was meaningless, but because my faithfulness remained constant. Please stay with me for one final promise. One day, the tears that now blur your vision will become the tears that remind you how faithful I have always been. You will remember the nights you thought you would never survive, and you will realize I carried you through every single one. You will remember the moments when you felt invisible, and you will see you were never outside my sight. You will remember asking, Lord, where were you? And I will gently whisper, I was holding you every step of the way. My child, do not be ashamed of your tears. Do not apologize for them. Do not believe they make you weak. Your tears tell me that your heart still loves, still hopes, still longs for healing, and I treasure every one of them. Never forget this. Not one tear has ever fallen unnoticed. Not one prayer has ever gone unheard. Not one lonely night has ever been lived without my presence. When you thought you were crying alone, I was beside you. When you believed no one understood, I understood completely. When your heart whispered, I can't do this anymore, I was already giving you the strength for one more step. My beloved child, lift up your eyes. This season will not last forever. The pain will not write the final chapter of your story. Your tears will not have the last word. My love will. If this message has spoken to your heart today, I invite you to leave one simple declaration in the comments. Write, "Lord, you saw every tear." Let those words become your prayer, not because all the pain has disappeared, but because you now know you were never alone. My beloved child, whenever another tear falls, remember my promise. I saw it, I held it, and I will never waste it, because I am the God who sees, the God who stays, and the God who will one day turn your hidden tears into a beautiful testimony of my faithfulness. Amen.